Every year, the sovereign's official birthday is celebrated with the ceremony of trooping the colour. The parade route extends from Buckingham Palace, along the Mall, to Horse Guards Parade and back again. Rousing music, immaculate drill, splendid colour, stand by for the Queen's birthday parade. (2014), a year of notable events. We've commemorated the 70th anniversary of D-Day. We're preparing to mark the centenary of the outbreak of the Great War. Later this year, the last British combat troops will leave Afghanistan. A blend, if you like, of past, present, and indeed future, in the shape of today's escort, found by Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards. Many of the guardsmen are new recruits. In fact, for all the officers and guardsmen in the escort today, it is their first time on Horse Guards for the Queen's birthday parade. A look at the stands, some 8,000 people watching the ceremony today. Many of them have applied successfully for tickets. It's a very competitive process. They're also joined by diplomats from Commonwealth states and beyond, along with military leaders and senior ministers. Heads of the armed forces are here, not just from the UK, but from the USA and other countries too. The Defence Secretary Philip Hammond and other cabinet colleagues. Magnificent sight along the Mall, by tradition, decked with Union flags to celebrate the Queen's official birthday, and lining the route are 12 officers and 220 soldiers of the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards. The majority of the streetliners were involved on Horse Guards last year, when the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards trooped their colour with great style. A look at Buckingham Palace, and the mounted bands, the Sovereign's escort, waiting there to accompany the Queen and other members of the royal family to Horse Guards. Quick reminder, this year once again we are providing full coverage of today's parade on BBC One, and we'll be staying on air to see the balcony appearance and the big fly past. And there is continuous unedited coverage for you on the red button. Delighted to say we have a new member of the BBC team at Trooping the Colour this year. Susie Perry is at the Royal Mews, seeing how they put the finishing touches to the preparations.
Well, it's surprisingly calm down here. This is Philippa. She's the coachman, the first female coachman at Buckingham Palace. She's beavering away, polishing the saddle. And of course, they've spent weeks preparing all of this, and they have to continuously polish because the heat plays havoc with all of the brass. Here are the gorgeous horses, the Cleveland Bays, that are going to be pulling the carriages later on. They're all taking part in the parade. This is Perth, Stephen just putting the last touches to him, and they've been out this morning for their ride. But it's very calm, which is good, because the horses pick up, of course, on the atmosphere, but they're certainly ready down here.
Back with Susie a little later. Someone who understands every twist and turn of today's ceremony is my special guest, Brigadier Roland Walker. There he is, commanding the parade in 2010. That was the last time the Grenadier Guards trooped their colour here on Horse Guards.
Your Majesty's Guards are ready to march off, ma'am.
That was 4 years ago today. He's with me in the commentary position high above the parade ground. Roland, welcome to you. What are you looking forward to?
Well, thank you very much, Hugh. I'm looking forward to watching this from the comfort of your commentary box and seeing it all again. My memory was quite a blur because we'd just come back from Afghanistan, and as you'll see, it generally all happens behind you when you're in charge. So I'm excited for the troops on parade and for their families watching. It's a big day for them, a chance to show their respect for the Sovereign in front of such an impressive audience.
We look forward to it. Let me say all guardsmen joining the Grenadiers begin their careers in Nijmegen Company. The vast majority of those in today's escorts are new recruits. We joined them a few months ago for their first parade rehearsal as they began to understand the demands of taking centre stage and providing the escort.
We tried to use Nijmegen Company as a finishing school. 17, 18 years old, turning up straight into a battalion of 600 men can be extremely difficult. Some of these guys arrived 2-3 days ago. They're then taken straight down to the clothing stores. They're past the bearskin. We're on the drill square. They've got me stood in front of them for the first time, screaming and shouting at them. This is day one of troop training. It's usually around about 7 weeks, just keeping it at a very basic level today.
I joined Nijmegen Company about a month ago, so it's a bit of a shock to the system, going straight from a month to doing this.
Drill's difficult for guardsmen at this level. I would expect mistakes, and I'm happy for them to make mistakes.
I'm not going to shout at you, it's your very first one. There's your line.
It's better to get it wrong now than get it wrong on the day.
If you don't ask and you get it wrong, I will bounce you round this square.
We're here, and there's no point crying about it. Let's get on with it.
5-minute break, that's all we had, and straight away you forgot it.
It's all about giving 100% and being keen at all times.
Yeah, it's hard work and determination, and this marks the beginning of hard work and determination for 7 weeks.
You must keep up with the front rank.
You do get the few arguments here and there, someone stepped on my boot.
Get back, it's ragged.
Being the front rank, it makes me nervous to be switched on at all time.
Stay in, stay in.
Everything's got to be pitch perfect.
It's gone wrong at that end.
There'll be a bit of pressure on the day, especially when I'm actually only sat a few metres away from you, but yeah, it's an honour really.
1, 2, 1, 2.
I was always prayed that I'd be part of the Queen's birthday parade, and here I am.
Better.
Most of the guardsmen here today will have never have stood on horse guards, will have never have done a troop. The first one that they do, they're going to be the escort. They will probably never be the escort again in their army career, so that makes me extremely proud, and it should make them extremely proud as well.
4, out! Get away, get away!
And there, standing proudly with his men, is Company Sergeant Major Brooks, right guide in today's escort. Just to confirm, the escort provided by Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards, the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards, providing the men for numbers 2, 3 and 4 guards, a very prominent Grenadier presence on Horse Guards this year. A look at the far end, formed up at right angles, number 7 Company Coldstream Guards, providing number 6 Guard, and next to them, number 5 Guard, provided by F Company Scots Guards. The Welsh Guards, as we know, are street lining. The Irish Guards, not completely absent from Horse Guards. They have some musicians in the massed bands. More than 200 Irish Guardsmen currently deployed in Cyprus. They sent us this message.
From all soldiers in the 1st Battalion Irish Guards Battle Group in the buffer zone in Cyprus, we would like to wish all the soldiers on the Queen's birthday parade today all the best of luck. Have a gleaming parade.
3 cheers for Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
3 cheers from Cyprus. Now, the officer commanding today's parade is the field officer in brigade waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton of the Grenadier Guards. He's been talking to Susie.
Well, 18 years of service, and here you are on your first ever birthday parade, but you're commanding it. Anything that you feel slightly anxious about?
I think we're as well prepared as we can be. I'm just concerned my voice may not hold out till the very end.
Ah, got a bit of a scratchy throat.
Just a touch.
Holland's a bit tricky with that, isn't it? Now, you're in good hands with Winston, all 16.1 of them. He's a dab hand at this, isn't he?
He's done the parade 8 times, 2 as the brigade field officer in waiting's horse, and 6 as a regimental adjutant's horse, so he knows the parade better than I do.
And he can also go up steps, because he goes to Sandhurst College and rides in.
The academy adjutant's horse at Sandhurst and has done that numerous times.
But it's his last one.
This is his last parade and his last day in the army.
Well, let's hope it's a good one. How proud do you feel to be doing this today?
Immensely. To be in front of 1,300 troops and Her Majesty the Queen is a day in a life.
And I know that your daughters are watching, so good luck and have a fantastic day.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Back on Horse Guards, the colour party is in place. A great honour to be selected for such a central role in the parade. Sergeant of the escort is Sergeant Gregory Mann. The 2 colour sentries are Guardsman Michael Frame and Robson Gray. They're both 21. And the colour being trooped today is the Queen's colour, Nijmegen Company Grenadier Guards. 45 of the regiment's 77 battle honours on the colour. One of those hard-won honours for the Battle of Nijmegen. It is 70 years ago this September that the Grenadiers fought to liberate the Dutch town. And we asked Lord Carrington, the former Foreign Secretary, a young captain back in 1944, about his memories of the battle.
I was a regular soldier before the war. I joined in sort of end of 1938. We didn't land till after D-Day, and the first battle we had was near Caen. We never had a battle before in a tank, and it was very disagreeable. None of us enjoyed it very much, and it wasn't very much of a success. But I think we got better after that and became really quite a good battalion. All the other bridges up to Nijmegen were taken fairly easily by the airborne troops, and it was a bit of a mess. We were supposed to go straight through over the bridge to Arnhem, but when we arrived there, the bridge had not been taken, and it was quite clear that they were prepared to blow it up rather than for us to come over. But the man who was really splendid was Sergeant Robinson, who went over in the first tank. He was a splendid man and indomitable. Over he went, and I don't know, I was a fourth tank or something. And I just felt I was near enough to Sergeant Robinson to get into trouble if the bridge did go up. So much of the war, you never saw the end product of what you did, but our end product was 2 bridges and really quite a successful battle, so I think it was quite a good grenadier occasion. It's very nice that the Nijmegen company is called that, and well, I think it's splendid. I really do, and I think it's rather nice to think that, you know, it's a very minor skirmish, but at least it's remembered after all these years.
Lord Carrington, former Foreign Secretary, sharing his memories of the Battle of Nijmegen, and the Guards Memorial, reminding us that almost 6,000 members of the Household Division lost their lives in the Second World War. 1,500 of them were grenadiers. The memorial, which was damaged during the Blitz and during the war, much of the damage left unrepaired, as a powerful reminder of the losses. Buckingham Palace. The first royal procession is about to leave for Horse Guards. The first carriage, Duchess of Cornwall, Duchess of Cambridge and Prince Harry too, making their way around the Queen Victoria Memorial, past the Canada Gate there in St James's Park towards the Mall. Second carriage, the Duke of York, his daughter Princess Eugenie. We have the Earl of Wessex and the Countess of Wessex too. And in the third carriage, Duke of Kent and his sister Princess Alexandra. Crowds gathered already near Buckingham Palace, waiting for the fly past a little later on, but obviously enjoying this first royal procession. And of course, as we see the first carriage here, and the Duchess of Cambridge, we're thinking of this time last year, tremendous excitement at the prospect of a royal birth. Just over a month after last year's parade, Duke and Duchess of Cambridge welcoming their first child, Prince George of Cambridge. He was born on the 22nd of July. Prince Harry, who turns 30 in 3 months' time on the 15th of September. So the red surface of the Mall, a vast expanse of it all the way up to Admiralty Arch, and the lovely green expanse of St James's Park there. The Royal Salute, sounded by Trooper Winter of the Blues and Royals, the field officer's trumpeter of the Sovereign's escort. This is the 62nd year of the Queen's reign. It's been an exceptionally busy time for the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh just in the past few weeks. The Royal Colonels making their way to Horse Guards for this Queen's birthday parade too. Duke of Cambridge, the Prince of Wales and the Princess Royal. So in the past few weeks, the Queen has attended the state opening of Parliament. There's been that state visit to France, very successful one, for the D-Day commemorations. And that full schedule will continue into next week with the Garter ceremony in Windsor, which is on Monday. The Queen, who celebrated her 88th birthday on April the 21st this year, spent it quietly at Windsor. Today's events, of course, on a much grander scale and a celebration of the Sovereign's official birthday. And today, interestingly, the Queen and the Duke travelling in the Ascot Landau. It's the first time we've seen this carriage at the Queen's birthday parade, using the glass coach last year. And the first three carriages in the procession making good progress now along the Mall, past all the cheering crowds there as they prepare to turn onto the approach road and travel down to Horse Guards Parade itself. Lots of enthusiastic cheering from the youth enclosure, which is just to the right of these images here. We'll see a little more of the Girl Guides and the Scouts and the Boys Brigade and the Girls Brigade in a short while. The Duchess of Cornwall in that first carriage, who was also attending the D-Day commemorations in France last week, meeting veterans of the Glider Pilot Regiment. And there we have more than 1,100 young people in the youth enclosure. Some of them from Stirling, some of them from Pontypridd this year. Formation has changed here on Horse Guards. Number 3 guard has opened up, ready to welcome the first of the royal guests. So when the first of the carriages passes on to the parade ground, the bands will play the national anthem. Prince Harry saluting the colour on Horse Guards Parade. He's retained the rank of captain. He's an officer in the Household Cavalry, Blues and Royals, wearing his Diamond Jubilee and Afghanistan medals too. So the carriage is approaching the Horse Guards building. That is where the royal party will watch the parade from the office once occupied by the Duke of Wellington, and they have the best vantage point from those windows there to see what's going on. At this point then, the preparations, looking ahead to the Queen's arrival in around 10 minutes time. Roland, how did you feel at this point?
Well, there's no going back from this point, Hugh. You know they're on their way. You can hear the carriages and the horses clattering down the Mall. I think in my mind I was rehearsing all the moves, rehearsing all the lines over and over again.
Such an impressive sight along the Mall. Sovereign's escort leading Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh to the parade ground. The Brigade Major leading the way, Lieutenant Colonel Simon Soskin of the Grenadier Guards, 4 troopers of the Blues and Royals. They are leading the way. Brigade Major, who's responsible for delivering state ceremonial and public duties in London, his second Queen's Birthday Parade after becoming Brigade Major back in November of 2012. He's riding Oscar today. Mounted bands, the Household Cavalry, and the great drum horses. They will be really performing for us later on. They have a starring role at this parade today. Captain David Hammond is the director of music for the mounted bands. His first Queen's Birthday Parade, so a great honour, but quite a challenge for him too. So we have 4 divisions of the Sovereign's escort. First and second divisions provided this year by the Blues and Royals. Distinctive red plumes and blue tunics. The state helmets we can see there gleaming. They're the ones designed by Prince Albert back in 1842. And then we have the 3rd and 4th divisions of the Sovereign's escort, provided by the Life Guards. A splendid sight in their red tunics, their white plumes. The senior regiment of the British Army, the roots going back to 1660 and Charles II, the time of the restoration of the monarchy. Queen's head coachman there, Mark Hargreaves. And a remarkable thing to realise that the Queen first took part in this parade in 1947 at the age of 21, the first parade after the war, riding then as Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. Though as the young Princess Elizabeth, she had first reviewed detachments of all 6 battalions at Windsor Castle on her 16th birthday. Duke of Edinburgh celebrated his 93rd birthday in the past week, Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. And that's a position that he's held since March of 1975. Wearing the uniform of the Colonel of the Grenadier Guards, that trooping the colour. This February, he was visiting the 1st Battalion at Aldershot. He presented long service and good conduct medals there to 3 sergeants. And posing for the odd photograph too, but enjoying his very strong link with the regiment. Music is Fortune Favours the Brave. Mounted bands of the Household Cavalry, consisting of 1 officer, 50 men, 51 horses. The musicians wearing state dress, that is the heavily embroidered gold tunic with the dark blue jockey cap. So the head coachman, Mark Hargreaves, making sure that the Queen is arriving at Horse Guards in comfort in the Ascot Landau and on time. He's riding McCarthy. The hand horse is Daniel. Mark, who's very experienced, this is his 7th birthday parade as head coachman. And the cheers once again filling the air past the youth enclosure, which is just beyond that building which is called the Citadel there on the right hand side. More than 1,000 participants enjoying today's pageantry and colour and music. The Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, the Guides and the Scouts. Buckingham Palace telling us that the Queen is wearing an outfit by Angela Kelly today. First worn on the state visit to Australia 3 years ago. Powder blue satin silk coat, dress and hat. Wearing the brooch of the Brigade of Guards. So the head coachman leads the way onto Horse Guards, towards the Horse Guards building for this Queen's Birthday Parade of 2014. Standing with respect, with great dignity, the Chelsea pensioners, 11 of them today. Their combined age, 832 years, the oldest being 92. Coachman will salute the colour with the whip. One of several forms of salute we will see today, and then the 3 Royal Colonels saluting the colour as they pass. Duke of Cambridge, Prince of Wales, Princess Royal, followed by the 2 non-Royal Colonels, General the Lord Guthrie and Lieutenant General Sir James Buckingham. So the Queen's Birthday Parade of 2014 is about to begin. At the stroke of 11 o'clock, the Queen will step onto the saluting base. The Royal Standard will be unfurled and the field officer will give his command. The national anthem will be played. Field officer in brigade waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton, is preparing to order the royal salute.
Salute! Present!
Well, the Queen's first duty is to inspect her troops, and to do that, there's going to be some rousing music. A new senior director of music this year, Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Hopler of the Irish Guards, appointed last November. Big moment for him. He joined the army in 1976. The first piece he's going to conduct is Esprit de Corps, composed by a former bandmaster of the Coldstream Guards. Music changes to First and Finest. Major Dennis Burton, composer, director of music of the Grenadier Guards until 2006. And the march includes the use of Grenadier themes and the title First and Finest, reflecting pride in the regiment. Sovereign standard of the Blues and Royals, held by the standard bearer, Squadron Corporal Major Stuart Selina. Queen presented new standards to the Household Cavalry at the end of May on Horse Guards. It only happens once a decade. Coachman saluting the Sovereign Standard. Royal Colonels too, and the non-Royal Colonels. The King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, ready for their dramatic appearance on the parade ground a little later on. The lead gun for them functions as the colour, equal to the colour being trooped to the ranks by the escort today, which is why it's saluted. Major General commanding the Household Division is Major General Edward Smith Osborne. His first year in the role, commissioned into the Lifeguards back in 1983, and then commanding officer, Household Cavalry Regiment. In that role, by the way, he commanded both Prince William and Prince Harry when they joined the Household Division.
It's a huge honour to be the Major General on the Queen's Birthday Parade, not least because, as a parade, it captures the essence, for many, of the Army. But it is also, for me, a personal privilege to come back to command an organisation that I joined over 30 years ago. And it is perhaps old-fashioned but interesting to say that the discipline and the precision that underpins a parade on Horse Guards encapsulates exactly the same values and standards that underpins an effective operational soldier.
Edward Smith Osborne, Major General. Roland, a word on the importance of his role today.
Yes, I worked for him when I was a captain. He's every inch the operational soldier, having commanded at every level in operations. So this is a new thing for him, his first birthday parade, having just come back from the NATO headquarters in Afghanistan. So a big day for him.
So the mass bands are ready. Senior Director of Music, leading a band of 200 musicians. They are some 10 ranks deep, a frontage of 20 trombones. It's a magnificent sound, and they're preparing to play a firm favourite of the Queen's Birthday Parade, the Huguenot, one of the most loved military marches. A big highlight of the parade, and the opportunity for the mass bands to take centre stage. Believe it or not, the last time it wasn't played was back in 1936. Quick March is Captain General, composed by Lieutenant Colonel Dunn back in 1949.
Very much to mark the 350 years of the Royal Marines, which is celebrated this year, and also the Duke of Edinburgh's association with the wonderful Royal Marines. Very much showing that today is all about all three services honouring their sovereign and not just the household troops.
The lone drummer, Lance Corporal Matthew Hadfield, leaving the mass bands, marching to a position to the right of the escort. He joined the Grenadiers back in 2011, and what he's doing now is signalling the next phase of the parade. Drummer's call, a reminder of the days when drum beats were the method by which commands were given, and the orderly Guardsman Junior Adam takes the Regimental Sergeant Major's pace stick. It is Warrant Officer 1 Darren Westlake, and that allows him to draw his sword, ready to protect the colour a little later on.
For the colour! Slow! On! Man, right up! Change! On! Standard! East!
Subaltern escort.
Full colour! In! Close order! Left! Straight! Escort! Full colour! Will! Advance! By the left! Quick! March!
So the escort steps off crisply and smartly, marching proudly to the tune of the British Grenadiers. Quite a moment, Roland, here.
quite the... this is the point where all eyes are on the escort. This is the essence of the parade. They go forward to take control of and then escort that colour with all its historic implications to a great rousing marching tune like the British Grenadier. They'll be standing very tall, ready to march off, moving forward with pride and conviction, and I dare say rather daunting if you were facing them down.
For the colour! In! Open order! Right! Trace! Mass bands will retire! About! Turn!
The Senior Director of Music making his way through the band to a new position close to the front.
Guards! Turn! Change! Arms! Slow! Arms!
And it's a splendid moment for Warrant Officer 1 Darren Westlake, the Regimental Sergeant Major. 20 years ago he was also in the escort when the 2nd Battalion trooped their colour. And here he is again today, preparing to take possession of the colour, protecting it with his sword, ready to hand it to the ensign. So the ensign, 2nd Lieutenant Oliver Wace, joined Nijmegen Company the week before training began. Has received the colour.
Escorts to the colour! Slow! On!
So the Queen's Birthday Parade enters a new phase. As we've heard, the escort for the colour has been changed into the escort to the colour, having taken possession of it.
Escort to the colour will advance by the centre. Chain on. Escort to the colour will advance High! The centre! Slow! March!
So the escort advances in slow time. Bands play Escort to the Colour by Richard Ridings. And here we have the most difficult challenge for the bands. They have to change direction with very little room for manoeuvre in this famously impenetrable move known as the spin wheel. 63 new members of the mass bands this year, so it's even more tricky. No written instructions, by the way. Prince Harry equally intrigued. One of the most experienced voices among the hundreds of members there. Drum Major Steve State, his 12th consecutive Queen's Birthday Parade. He apparently is one of the real experts on the spin wheel. And while all this is happening, Roland, I suppose it's rather easy to get distracted.
Thank you for reminding me, Hugh. Yes, this was where I very nearly got it wrong. We're coming to a stage where the band will cut out, and that's the signal for the Field Officer Brigade waiting to give the crucial word of command to present arms. And I'm afraid I started daydreaming at this point, looking at the crowd, and I missed the cutout. And I had this awful feeling that something was wrong, and realised it was me. Just managed to get the word in time, but I don't think anyone noticed, so we'll keep that between you and me.
I've got something to admit, we didn't notice.
Present! Arms!
So the music changes to the familiar Grenadier Slow March, arranged by Fred Harris. And the moment has come, really, for the ensign, Second Lieutenant Oliver Wace, as all eyes are upon him.
This is immensely new for me. I joined the battalion on the 13th of December last year when I commissioned out of Sandhurst. The drill that we do at Sandhurst is similar but very, very different at the same time, and so it's a huge challenge for me. My grandfather fought in World War II for the Grenadier Guards. He fought through North Africa and Italy, where he was sadly wounded. But he's definitely a large inspiration for me and the main reason why I joined the Grenadier Guards.
Lovely story there, Hugh, is about his grandfather who, as you heard, was wounded at Monte Cassino, which was an epic and lengthy battle in Italy in 1944. And it was whilst recovering in a hospital that he befriended the man in the next door bed who became his father-in-law, having introduced him to his daughter after the war. So a lovely end to that story.
Such an important moment now in the parade, and a good time for us as well, Roland, to reflect on what the colour signifies and what those battle honours signify.
Indeed, I mean, there's the obvious historical significance of the colours as a means to control troops in battle. They've always been treated and guarded with great reverence, and there are many heroic tales of soldiers and officers risking all to protect their colours, and a lot of officers' messes and sergeants' messes will have that recorded in pictures. The last colour was carried in battle in 1881, so today they really represent the soul of a regiment by recording their battle honours, which are also interestingly engraved on every officer's sword. Very much a collective recognition of the regiment's bravery and success.
Thoughts today too for the family of Lance Corporal James Ashworth. Yesterday marked the 2nd anniversary of his death in Helmand province in Afghanistan. He was awarded the Victoria Cross for his remarkable bravery, and he trooped the colour here with Nijmegen Company back in 2007.
Halt! Escort to the colour. Will advance. Left. Turn. Escort to the colour. Chain. Armed. Escort to the colour. Reason. Armed. Cut! Slow! Arms! Officers! Take post! Quick! March! Numbers 1 to 5 guard. Well, retire. About. Turn. At the halt. Right forward. Quick march.
Tune is Hazelmere, composed by drum mage Tom Burkett, played by the Corps of Drums.
Numbers 1 to 5 guard. Well, advance. About. Turn. Number 6 guard. Close order. March. Move to the right in 3s. 4 3s. Right. Guards, well march past in slow and quick time. By the left. Slow. March.
So the colour has been trooped and we move into the march past, where all of these troops will march past Her Majesty. And this neutral slow march is Nerak GC by Stuart Watts and John Lewis, written to commemorate Captain Robert Lawrence Nerak, a Grenadier Guards officer killed by the IRA back in May of 1977 and posthumously awarded the George Cross. This is what so many people come to see and what so many people admire all around the world. Not just the colour, not just the music, but really it's the precision, and it is that great military attention to detail. And of course, a great view there of one of the hallmarks of the Guardsman, the bearskin, with all of its practical challenges. Roland.
Yes, this all looks rather elegant and controlled, but I can assure you, particularly when they get into the quick march, this is all very hot and noisy in the ranks, with lots of jostling and cursing from the non-commissioned officers to keep everyone on the move. As you can see, they're tightly packed in, they're shoulder to shoulder, they're being pushed left and right, and they're encased in those thick woolen tunics, those hobnail boots, and that bearskin, as you say, which gives you a curtain of fur to mask your vision. As they stand there, they'll be relieved to get going, hoping that no one's strapped an alarm clock on the inside of their bearskin, which is an age-old prank, time to go off during the parade, and there's nothing you can do about it. They've got a good physical workout coming in their way, as anyone who's been drilled by an enthusiastic drill sergeant will know. And when it gets going, they'll be straining to hear and react to their own officers giving the words of command over the music and the din. So they've got a lot to think about and a lot to concentrate on.
Looking on with great interest, David Cameron and Samantha Cameron. As the march past gets underway, the sun peeping through the clouds. Looked rather grey and threatening earlier today, but it's opened up a little now. Colour being brought to the front of the escort, ready for the march past. So the Nijmegen Company, Grenadier Guards, today's escort, almost ready now to move off and to march past in slow time. Led by the field officer in brigade waiting, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton, and the major of the parade, Major Richard Green. Queen acknowledging. Nijmegen Company first trooped their colour for the Queen back in 2001. Rather wet day then. It's just the second time they've trooped their colour. Grenadier Guards, recognisable there, their single button. Queen acknowledges again the 1st Regiment of Foot Guards. A single button pattern, the white plumes and the grenade collar emblem. So the ensign raises the standard again. It's known as the recover, having flourished it or lowered it initially. Duke of Edinburgh, Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. How close is that relationship, Roland?
It's very close. He means a huge amount to the regiment, as much to those serving today as to the many veterans, many of whom are his good friends. I found him very easy to host when he came to visit because he's so relaxed, and as a through-and-through naval man, he's always teasing us about our army ways. But it's great to see him on parade again today. He's had a very long association with us, lent his support to fundraising for those in need, and has been a very active colonel. This year alone, for example, he's visited the battalion, he's hosted 2 regimental council meetings, and he's attended the First Guards Club dinner.
Music is changing. The Scots Guard slow march, the garb of Old Gaul. And another change. The Coldstream Guard slow march, Figaro, by Mozart. And the adjutant of the parade, Captain Paddy Rice of the Grenadier Guards, with the flourish of the sword, will signal that this march past in slow time is complete. Interesting story, because back in October of 2009 he survived being shot in the neck by a Taliban sniper. And after 2 weeks at the Camp Bastion Field Hospital, he returned to his platoon and completed the remainder of the tour. That's Captain Paddy Rice. Field officer rides out to salute the Queen. Slow march complete. Well, the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards are currently deployed on operations in Afghanistan, providing force protection in Kabul for British and NATO headquarters and the Afghan Military Academy. Nearly 300 men left in February of this year, the battalion's 3rd tour of the Afghan campaign. They'll return to their Windsor base in August, and they'll be the last of the Household Division to serve in Afghanistan before combat operations are brought to an end this year. They sent us this message.
I know that the Grenadiers will do a first-class job today. I wish Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton and all his team the very best of luck, as well as all those on parade. Have a cracking time, enjoy it. Her Majesty's going to be watching, and there is no standard but perfection.
I'm Lieutenant Joss Bucknell, out here as Platoon Commander for the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards in Kabul. I'd like to wish my father, Lieutenant General Sir James Bucknell, and my brother, Lieutenant Humphrey Bucknell, best of luck on today's parade.
Although we're a long way from home and our thoughts are with everyone back in the UK, we wish you a very happy day today, Your Majesty. Happy birthday.
Good luck!
Happy birthday, Your Majesty.
Happy birthday, Your Majesty.
Happy birthday, Your Majesty.
Birthday greetings for Her Majesty the Queen from Afghanistan. And your experience, Roland, will underline for us what's going on there, just that dual role, and you returning in 2010.
Very much so. We've all done our time in Afghanistan, and as you say, this showcases that almost unique role as combat troops on the one hand and household troops on the other. It also, I think, shows how complementary those roles are in representing the values and standards of the Army in terms of discipline, selfless commitment and loyalty. And I think that clip from the Coldstream Guards, despite all the internal rivalries, shows what a strong bond exists between these Fit Guards regiments. 90% common parts, I say, but we're distinguished by our differences.
Prince Harry enjoying as the neutral quick march gets underway. It's called Nijmegen Company. Guards preparing to march past in quick time. A new sense of dynamism now. It's This march, by the way, composed by Lieutenant Colonel Philip Hills, former Director of Music of the Grenadier Guards. Last played back in 2001 at the birthday parade, of course, when Nijmegen Company were trooping. So a real sense of energy, a real sense of dynamism, a real sense of purpose now with this march past in quick time. Lots of foot tapping and enjoying the music. And some Commonwealth heads of government here today as well. They've been attending a conference at the Foreign Office. Now, the Queen's Company have all recently returned from the Falkland Islands. They're due to deploy to Kenya in November with the battalion. And on the parade ground today, there are 2 guardsmen with number 2 guard there who were injured while serving on operations in Afghanistan in 2012. Guardsman Benjamin Kamedi, who's 29, from Ghana, served in the army for 2 years, recently transferred from the Royal Welsh Regiment, his first troop. Among them too, Lance Corporal Lee Scanlon, 29, served in the Grenadier Guards for 13 years. He was shot in Afghanistan, made a full recovery, recently deployed to Brunei on a training exercise there. Acknowledges the colour once again. Tune, the Grenadier Guards Quick March, British Grenadiers, arranged by Cappy. Guard, the Buckingham Company, 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards. It's the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Inkerman during the Crimean War. It took place in 1854. Music changes to the quick march of the Scots Guards. Elan Luddy. Coldstream Guards Quick March, Milanolo. Majority of the Guardsmen quite junior, really. 56 Coldstream Guardsmen on their first birthday parade today. Jack O'Hara is the youngest at 17. Officer rides out again, salutes the Queen. The march past in quick time is done. Commanding Officer, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton. A moment to pause for the next phase of the parade. And he told us how he's been preparing himself for the task today.
I started learning the words of command for the parade about 3 months ago, and since then it has been about rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. The Duke of Edinburgh is our regimental colonel, and so to have him there on the 14th of June is a moment of immense pride for us grenadiers to troop the colour in front of him. The key to the perfect parade is good weather, a great atmosphere amongst the men, immaculate drill, and having seen them rehearse so far, I'm convinced that they will deliver on the day.
Plenty of confidence from Lieutenant Colonel Charles Broughton. Roland, let's have a verdict from you so far.
Well, I think the really interesting thing is how inexperienced Nijmegen Company are as the youngest of the guards on parade, the least experienced. I think they've done very well. It's been precise, as you said, it's crisp, and they are in good order. They'll be looking forward to catching their breath now. I think their arms are going to be aching, those feet will be sore, their hearts are racing and chests will be heaving. I think they should be pleased with that.
Shoulder! Arms! Officers! Take post! Quick march! Guards! In open order! Left and right! Dress! Left bands will move to the right! Right! Turn! By the left! Quick! Arch!
So the Foot Guards have reformed. It'll very soon be the turn of the mounted troops to make their appearance and to pass the saluting base. The massed bands will be marching to one side, clearing a path then for the mounted bands to make their entry. great sight. Lots of excitement here on the parade ground. King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, moving on to the parade ground here. Rumble and the clatter telling us that they're on their way. Been on the parade now since 1998. Troop kept the title King's Troop on the orders of Her Majesty the Queen in memory of her father, King George VI. Major Mark Edward took command of the King's Troop in August 2011, his 5th and last birthday parade. It's a great sight, Roland.
Very much so. Always a pleasure to see the horses and guns. I've got a personal soft spot for them. Great-great-grandfather of mine ended up as a general, but started off in the horse artillery, and a great-grandfather of mine ran a remount station during World War I in France. They were responsible for sourcing the horses, donkeys and mules, breaking them in and preparing them for work. Being a good West Country farmer and former Somerset Yeomanry officer, he did what he could at his age, and by all accounts was good with the horses.
The guns, the lead gun, treated as the colour of the troop, given the same respect as the Guards' colour. Those guns, big 13-pounders, the real thing. They were used in action in the First World War. That time they were a revolution in portable artillery. One of these guns here today, rumoured to have fired the first round at the Somme. Field officer of the Sovereign's Escort, Major Simon Lucas of the Blues and Royals, recently returned to the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment after a period with the Operational Regiment at Windsor, his 3rd Queen's Birthday Parade. He is riding Integrity today. Lifeguards, Seraval Captain is Captain Paul Chiswick. Took over as adjutant of the House of Cavalry Mounted Regiment in April last year. Birthday parade for the first time. Recently commanding the staircase party at the House of Lords for the state opening of Parliament. And the farriers with their glinting axes. Ones in times gone by who would dispatch the horses injured in battle. Field officer's trumpeter, Trooper Winter of the Blues and Royals. His horse, Nico, was named after Lance Corporal Ross Nichols, who was killed in Afghanistan in '06. So the King's Troop, Household Cavalry, prepare for the trot past. 75 King's Troop horses on parade today. And the saddle being used unchanged since 1904. It came into service before the First World War. It was designed to be ridden for days at a time.
An interesting fact to watch here, Hugh, is as the King's Troop come by, you'll see their horses are ranked and graded according to colour. They start with a light bays at the front and steadily get darker until you get the dark bays at the back.
Standard this time not being lowered, the Queen acknowledges. Blues and Royals, followed by the Lifeguards in their scarlet tunics. Preparations for today, of course, going back many weeks, but just in practical terms today, all of it starting at 5:30 this morning. Great care being taken down to the last detail. So led by Captain David Hammond, the mounted bands provide their own salute. Kettle drummers crossing their sticks as they pass the saluting base. That wonderful musician's state coat, which has been unchanged since 1685. The drummers there controlling the reins with their feet. It's a remarkable performance by all the musicians, considering they have to ride and play. So the mounted band making its way back along the northern edge of the parade ground. Very soon the director of music will be keeping an eye on things, making sure that everything's in place, ready to signal to the field officer that he's handing back control, that all the household cavalry are in position, getting ready for the final birthday salute to the Queen.
Royal! Salute! Present! Guards! In close order! Left and right! Dress!
Guards dress this time, all guards in one long line, and it's remarkable to realise that this move, this precise move, is accomplished with no word of command being given.
Guards! Well formed! 3 ranks! Form! 3 ranks! Guards! Well! Retire! Arm! Done! At the halt! My division! Right form! Quick march!
Guards forming into 6 divisions, ready to march off. Tune is the adjutant, imposed by Drum Major Tom Burkett.
Divisions! Well, advance! Arm! Turn! Guards on the escort! Form! Close column! Remainder! Quick march!
So we have the reverse of what we saw earlier. We have the orderly Guardsman Junior Adom returning the pace stick to the Regimental Sergeant Major, Warrant Officer 1 down Westlake.
Guards! Left! Dress!
The left guide of the escort, Colour Sergeant James Bennett, been on 6 operational tours, including Northern Ireland, Bosnia, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Shoulder!
There is Garrison Sergeant Major Bill Mott making his way down to the approach road, ready to give the signal that all is clear for the royal procession to leave. I'd like to mention too that the Garrison Sergeant Major will have his own celebration later this summer. He's marrying his fiancée in the Guards Chapel. We wish them both the best of luck, and we expect that'll be arranged with his customary attention to the very last detail, so good luck to them. Field officer turns, approaches the saluting base to seek Her Majesty's permission to march off.
Your Majesty's Guards are formed up and ready for march off, ma'am.
So permission has been given, and this means that we're in the concluding phase of the birthday parade. Queen's carriage being brought back to the saluting base, and some of those guests who've been watching in the Horse Guards building, including Prince Harry and others, will be making their way back towards Buckingham Palace very shortly. And in that first carriage, Duchess of Cambridge, Prince Harry and the Duchess of Cornwall. And they'll be looking forward to the much anticipated traditional birthday flight past by the Royal Air Force, and it is a really impressive flight past that's in store today. Back on Horse Guards, everyone awaiting the signal that all is ready for the Queen's Ascot Landau to leave the parade ground today. The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh will lead the troops along the parade ground back to the Mall and down to Buckingham Palace, where there'll be a second march past on a slightly more intimate scale there. Garrison Sergeant Major ready to give the signal. There it is. March-off music is called Voice of the Guns, written as a tribute to the British artillerymen serving in the First World War, later adopted as a march for the entire British Army. So the Queen's carriage will follow immediately behind the mass bands at the head of the troops. As the parade draws to a close, worth mentioning two members of the mass bands today in their final troop. Davis Buckles of the Grenadier Guards Band, his 24th birthday parade. Ralph Brill of the Scots Guards Band, his 29th birthday parade. He retires this year after 31 years service, so a nice successful note for them to end on. And at this point, Roland, I think it's worth asking you, given your experience, is this the moment you start to relax or not?
It's the first time I started to relax. I think for the field officer, he'll be thinking he's made it through, and I hope he can enjoy that ride home. He's right there up with his Sovereign Honour carriage. I think he should be very pleased with today. He'll be pleased, I know, that his complex rein-back went without incident. We know that horse can move quite fast backwards. And I think he'll be relieved when he sees it that the guards were straight on the march past.
It's been said many times that this parade represents the best values and the best standards of the army. Is that a fair comment?
I think it's true. You have a long link with what you're seeing here today going back to the origins of the British Army. And although many things change, some things don't. And the underpinning ethos of selfless commitment, putting yourself in for the benefit of the team, is what you see on a parade like this. Everyone is here to show their loyalty, the higher standards of discipline. So very much so.
And of course, talking of continuity and stability and discipline, there we have Her Majesty the Queen, just celebrated her 88th birthday and really performing all her duties with great, remarkable energy.
Very much her parade, I think. It's called the Queen's Birthday Parade. It's hers in name as well as hers in practice. Of course, she is the most experienced observer of this parade. She's been involved with it throughout her reign, and of course deputised for her father when she was involved as a young teenager as Colonel Grenadier Guards. So she knows more about this parade than anybody and has seen and accommodated the changes that have been made.
So that's the stability. I'm just wondering really, when we look at the form of this parade and of course the importance of the household division, household division itself can't be immune from change either. What's it going to look like in years to come?
No, the trick is to ensure that any change is as imperceptible as possible. But it does, and of course what you have in the ranks there are some extremely experienced young soldiers and leaders, which makes it very easy for us to prepare for the uncertainties of an unpredictable future. When not on the parade here, they'll be concentrating on training and more training so that we're ready should the country need us in whatever capacity and wherever. And that's not just for the Guards, it's very much for the whole army, and my brigade is very much part of that at the moment.
Lots of smiles, lots of waves, and the Queen and the Duke making their way back to Buckingham Palace. This tradition, by the way, of the monarch leading the Guards back to Buckingham Palace really is a tradition started a century ago, established by George V back in 1940. The parade at that time had become increasingly popular, and the decision was taken to, I suppose, provide an even more impressive experience for the many thousands who turn up to enjoy the event. And the thought here, Roland, too, for all of these streetliners, I'm bound to mention the Welsh Guards. Lots of my friends in the Welsh Guards today, 1st Battalion, they were on Horse Guards Parade last year, but 12 officers and 220 men streetlining today, and that's often a bit of they're unsung heroes today, aren't they?
Well, they are, and of course the Welsh Guards will have their moment in pride of place in the future. So we've all taken our time on the street lining. You're very much the first out, last back. It's a long day, and it is the least glamorous of all the roles. But in my experience, there's some good banter listening to the crowds, and it's a good-natured day out. I remember, actually, we do this for the State Opening of Parliament as well, and as a young officer, doing my best to keep the Guardsmen interested by feeding them mince whilst pretending to adjust their bearskins, and I had to avoid a tricky journalist and photographer trying to catch me do it, but I had to keep on trying and persevering.
Well, I've no idea whether Lieutenant Giles Harris of the Welsh Guards has been doing that today, but he assumed command of the 1st Battalion in January this year, and as you say, Roland, will command the parade for the first time next year. So the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh looking down towards Buckingham Palace, knowing full well that there's a great fly-past on the way involving the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight and the Red Arrows, so it's something we're going to enjoy in a short while. And it is indeed a great sight all the way down the Mall to the Palace, and as we can see there in St James's Park, and indeed in Green Park across the road, there are thousands of people who've gathered for today's parade. It's one of the great ceremonial events of the year. And there's the approach to the palace, dominated by the vast Queen Victoria Memorial, which was unveiled more than a century ago by King George V and by Kaiser Wilhelm, both of them grandchildren of Queen Victoria. And in the procession too, we have the regimental adjutants, including Harry Scott of the Life Guards, Grant Baker of the Grenadier Guards, Tom Bonus of the Welsh Guards, and Timothy Purden of the Irish Guards, Simon Vandeleur of the Coldstream Guards. Roland, a word about their importance.
Yes, seldom in the limelight. These are the wise men, the guardians of the knowledge, the tradition, the history of the regiments, very much a cohesive influence. They keep watch over us all from their headquarters in Wellington Barracks, generally retired, employed on civil service conditions. I think the most important thing they do is they oversee the distributions of regimental charitable funds to those in need, regimental welfare cases. They also have an important role in officer recruiting.
And I'm delighted to say we've been joined too by Robert Hardman, the distinguished author, commentator, royal biographer and Daily Mail columnist. Robert, thanks for joining us again this year. Your impression so far?
Well, as ever, Hugh, it's just one of the great spectacles. You can just see the size of the crowds there, 10, 15 deep, the length of the Mall. It's a scene that never fails to inspire, move and excite, and a lot of young people out there too.
Well, the mounted bands returning to Buckingham Palace, their parade's not quite complete. They've already shown on Horse Guards that they're not just good musicians, they're talented horsemen too. But what does it take to play an instrument while in the saddle? Susie Perry visited them in Knightsbridge to find out.
Hello, chaps. Working away here very hard. Who's this beauty?
This is the Lifeguards drum horse, Achilles. He's 14 years old. He's a Shire, and he stands at a massive 17.2.
He looks a little bit camera shy, actually.
Yeah, he's a little bit head shy, but, you know, inside he's excited. I'm fortunate, being the Lifeguards drummer, that I get a groom with the drum horse, because it's such a specialist horse and takes a lot of care with the grooming and exercising. The first part of the day is that he washes his feathers. It takes about 20 minutes to wash them off, a bit of a shampoo, and then good brush, and they come up nice and fluffy.
They've got quite a following, haven't they, the drum horses?
Certainly, they've even got their own Facebook sites.
You're not doing this year, are you? You've done so many.
Yes, certainly. I've done 23 Trooping the Colours.
Will you miss it?
Yes, certainly, yeah. I'm very proud and honoured to be able to do it the last 23, but I'm now handing over to musician John Codd, which will be his first parade this year.
Hi, John. Good to meet you.
And yourself?
And who's this?
The lovely drum horse Mercury. You'll be riding the Blues and Rolls this year on the Queen's birthday parade.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. How are you feeling about your first Queen's birthday parade?
Well, very daunted to start with, I would say, but really looking forward to it.
How's the training been going?
Yeah, really good, actually. I've been training just over a year, actually, on the drum horses. And, you know, initially when you come and you get on top, and obviously they're a lot wider, bigger base, it's just an absolutely totally different experience. The trickiest part is concentrating and keeping your eye down to what you're actually doing at the time. So you've got your list on your drum, and you're ensuring that the boss in front, you're telling him that he knows where he is, he's happy, and then the rest of the band behind, they're happy. You have to be really concentrating on what you're doing.
This looks very impressive.
This is where we keep all our state ceremonial equipment. You've got about £12 million worth of equipment here. These are the Lifeguard silver drums, and they were presented us by William IV in 1830.
They look incredibly heavy. How much do they weigh?
About 45 kilograms each. Even though you've got a small drum and a large drum, it's naturally assumed that they're going to be different weights. But if you have different weights on the back of a horse's back, it's going to affect the way he rides, so they weigh exactly the same.
They're stars in their own right, these drums, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly.
Have you ever had any issues? About
10 years ago, right at the end of the Queen's birthday parade, there's quite an iconic part for the drum horses as we give a cross-stick salute to Her Majesty the Queen. Now, I know I'm not supposed to look into the eyes of Her Majesty, but as I went past, I could actually see there's a bit of a frown on her face, and she was pointing at something. Well, I thought I was in, deep trouble. But unfortunately, the front crest of this drum had fallen off and dropped onto the floor. They then had to get the police to close Horse Guards down so nobody could go onto the parade ground, and then they could retrieve the piece, get it refitted.
Her Majesty spotted that?
Yes, certainly. She has a very keen eye.
Camille, this is your clarinet, the instrument that you play. That might be the only little bit of kit on there that I recognise. What was it that made you want to be part of the band?
I joined the army as a musician. After I'd done all the basic training, we had to put our preferences as to bands down. I had a look at the household cover. I thought, that seems interesting. When I get paid to learn to ride a horse. So I put it down as preference and ended up here. This is the lyre on the clarinet. This holds the music in place. We have to tie it on with cable ties.
High-tech.
High-tech, yeah. And use these key ring holders, so when we flip our music, it doesn't fall off, because there's no way of picking it up once you've dropped it.
You don't want bits flying off, do you?
No, that does happen, though, sometimes.
But you're looking at your music.
Yeah.
You're playing the clarinet, you're sitting on a horse, you're controlling the horse.
You've obviously got to see the director of music, who is leading the band at the front. You've got to make sure you keep completely in line with the people in your row, and then you've got to be looking at the side to make sure you're in line with the people to the right and left of you as well as looking at your music at the same time and playing.
That's incredible. Two bands working together, is this a normal situation?
It is on the Queen's Birthday Parade specifically, where both bands come together and form the band of the Household Cavalry. And each year, one of us has the pleasure of taking that parade. Last year it was the Lifeguards, and this year it's David with the Blues and Rolls.
Ah, so is this your first time?
Absolutely, it's my first time on the parade, and absolutely delighted to do it, and so much looking forward to it.
What are the challenges then, and what could David be looking out for?
The challenges always are, you are holding the whole parade together, so you have to know the parade inside out back to front. And of course, without music, the parade becomes pointless, really. So the music is the driver for everything.
Camille, first time on Nintendo, how's she feeling?
Okay so far. We'll see how we go and everything starts moving, but good so far.
Good luck today. Thank you very much, and good luck for the birthday parade.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great insight into all the hard work and the preparation and the techniques and the expertise of the mounted bands there. Susie talking to quite a few people, including Major Paul Willman, who's very experienced, and we can join her now.
Thanks very much, Hugh. Yes, Major Paul Willman and I have come down to the Queen's Gardens. We've got a glorious view behind us of Buckingham Palace, and as you can probably see in here, there are the band walking by. So come on then, tell me, how has Captain David Hammond done today?
Well, I have to say, he's done an absolutely marvellous job. Timing was impeccable. His riding into position was right bang on time, and as all the mounted troops went by, cut off to the music, were exactly the right place. Very successful parade. Well done, David.
It must be a little bit strange for you today, though, to be here standing on your feet and not on a horse. How does it seem?
Well, yeah, it's a bit strange. I didn't imagine I would feel like this, but having done it last year and enjoying the pride of it all, I'm really missing it today, and I'm feeling it now as everybody's going on behind me. But I'm proud for all the guys out there, because it's an incredible occasion.
I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about those drum horses, because they really are something else. And when we were filming and they first hit the drum, it made me jump. I mean, they really punch the drum, but the horses, they just stand there and don't react.
Well, you know, it's all about training at the end of the day. The drum horses themselves, when they first come to the cavalry, the drummers slowly play the drums in front of them. They show them what they're all about. They play them quietly, they roll, they hit them, and eventually it just seems to go out of them. And then when they progress to put the drums on the horses, you've not only got the weight of the drums, but of course the sound is right next to their ears and their heads. But they get used to it. It really is all about training, and it amazes me they don't flinch. Every other horse flinches, but they don't. It's incredible.
And the musicians themselves, they're not really horsemen, are they? And they have to control the horse effectively with their feet.
Well, of course they've done the riding school like everybody else in the House of Cavalry has to do, but it's not 100% of our job. It's about 10% of the year. So we only ride at specific periods in the year, and this is a critical one. So the build-up all the way goes. How they ride is most interesting, because they don't ride at the full age of a normal House of Cavalryman. So they wrap their reins around their wrists, some around the saddle. Most of the riding is done with their legs. We have to hope that the horses tend to be a little bit older, so they tend to follow on. Then they have to play their music, and they have to keep their eye on the dressing from left to right, front to rear.
It's so much going on.
You know, it's quite incredible. And you know, I look at some of the instruments like the trombone, and you wonder how on earth they can do it.
I don't know how they do it still, even after seeing it. Paul, thank you very much, and very good luck with your retirement.
Thank you very much indeed, Sue. Pleasure to be here.
Major Paul Willman there, talking to Susie and enjoying the music, enjoying the scene at Buckingham Palace. The march past has been taking place. This is the second march past, if you like, because we've already had the grand march past on Horse Guards Parade. This is a second phase before the Queen prepares to go into the palace and spend a little bit of time in there before they come out onto the balcony to enjoy the fly past. And as you can see, around the Queen's Gardens and over there towards Green Park, there's a pretty big crowd gathered, as they always do, and most of the members of the royal family have already congregated on the balcony, and they'll be waiting patiently for that march past, which will take place in around half an hour's time. So they'll all go back in and they'll come out again. Robert Hardman and Roland still with me. Robert, at this point it's worth reflecting on the fact that this parade today, which is itself a pretty ambitious event, is part of several ambitious events over the last 10 days.
Yes, Hugh, I mean, this really has been the busiest royal month since the Diamond Jubilee of 2012. I mean, the Queen has, if you just look back over recent days, the state opening of Parliament, the state visit to France, Normandy, now this, and there's a long series of engagements coming up in Scotland, in Northern Ireland. It's an extraordinary month, and I was just earlier this week, in fact, at a garden party here at the Palace, and watched the Queen and the Duke in 25-degree sunshine, spending 2 hours working their way through a crowd of 8,000 people and really enjoying it. In fact, it was the Duke's 93rd birthday. He'd actually given orders that the band were not to play Happy Birthday because that would be a distraction. He just wanted to get on with it. So they really are, they're in the middle of a very busy summer, and as we can see, they're really relishing every moment.
Probably worth a little line as well, Roland, at this point, for viewers watching who often don't see this part of the day, actually, because we're staying on air today, especially for the fly past. This march past, not using the word intimate probably is wrong given the setting, but it is more intimate than Horse Guards.
Yes, this is the last act, and you'll see standing there on the Queen's right-hand side is the Field Officer Brigade waiting, and you watch all the troops march past and rank past for a final time as they all head back to barracks, and there comes a stage where you're on your own, and it's a very sort of memorable moment from my time in the parade, and it's just you left to ask your leave, a rather strangely quiet and personal moment. To be honest, I didn't notice all the crowds that were watching when I did it. A word to you here on how difficult this riding is as well. There are a lot of young horses and inexperienced troopers here, and for those that don't know it, they're riding very long in their stirrups, and they can feel almost nothing through those thick jackboots, so they've got almost no control through their legs on those horses, and of course they're only holding on with one hand, so this is a tricky thing to do. A bit like being on the ranks on the ground. This is hot and hard work.
Lifeguards marching past, after which we expect the field officer to salute Her Majesty. The Queen will then be back in that carriage and the royal salute will be sounded.
Nice touch here, I think, Hugh, for the Field Officer Brigade waiting today. His father was the adjutant of the Blues and Royals, and his older brother, I think, was a squadron leader in the Blues and Royals, so I think they'll be looking at his horsemanship with a critical eye today.
family looking on from the balcony, the Queen making her way into the palace. Very soon the fly past will take place. We'll see them all back out on the balcony again. Prince Harry, by the way, has been working very hard organising the Invictus Games, a new Paralympic-style sporting event open to the men and women who've been injured serving their country. One of those hoping to take part is Nathan Cumberland, no stranger to trooping the colour. He served as a Grenadier Guardsman. This is his story.
I joined the Grenadiers in 2004. I wanted to see the world, meet new people, kind of thing. Before you know it, I was getting shouted at, marching up and down, and Queen's birthday, and there you are, you know, Horse Guards, strutting your stuff, really. I did 2 tours of Afghanistan with the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards. The first tour was in 2007, and the second tour was in 2009, September. Within 5 weeks of being there on the second tour, that's where I got blown up by an ID. And before you know it, I was getting picked up by the medical emergency response team on the Chinook, and they airlifted me to Camp Bastion. But it's all down to the fact that the guys on the ground, over the radio, returning fire, you know, they all mucked in, really, and that's what it's all about when you're out there, you know. So, yeah, it was down to them guys, really, to save my life. You've got 2 paths. You can either feel sorry for yourself, or you can dust yourself off and say, I'm still here, and I'm going to get on with it. I'm not saying it's going to be rainbows and sunshine every day, because it's not. Everyone's going to have bad days. It's just pulling through those bad days to make better days. It's as simple as that.
The personality traits which Nathan has, probably most overriding one, he has grit. He has that determination just to dig in and get on with it. And that's a good trait in life. Just accepting where you are, saying, all right, this is it. And that's exactly what Nathan does. And no matter how he competes in the Invictus Games or other sporting challenges or any other challenges in life, for that matter, that'll certainly stand him in good stead.
He was always the morale, basically. Whenever things were a little low or been a bit tough that day, he was the one who would always sort of put a smile on your face. Yeah, I think he still is, to be honest. He'll never change.
Very competitive, and hopefully that will help him and push him on throughout the Invictus Games.
The Invictus Games helps. It's that mentality of competitiveness against, whether it's yourself or whether it's against other nations, other countries. You know, it's that army ethos, isn't it? I think it's massive for the guys who were struggling to find where they want to go next. They need a focus. I train at the gym quite a lot. Hand cycled Europe twice. I've done various other things, diving in Thailand. You name it, I've kind of pretty much done it, really. I've done more stuff since I've been injured than before when I was able-bodied. So, yeah, it's been good. It's been good. But the Invictus Games, I'm hoping to compete in the powerlifting events and the field events, such as shot put, javelin, etc. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I make it.
In terms of encouragement, the one thing I would say to Nathan is that he needs to grow his beard a bit further. We call it beard strong, and there's a strong scientific correlation between beard length and strength.
Good luck. Work as hard as he can, as he always will. But remember to take a bit of a rest every now and then, because he's going to do himself a heart attack one day.
I'm sure the heritage of the Grenadiers will help him lift his way through the Invictus Games. The spirit of the regiment should be with him, and hopefully lead him to be a winner.
You can feel sorry for yourself, and you can say, oh, I can't do it, I can't do this. Then that's down to you then. That's your responsibility. You've got to live with that at the end of the day. And I didn't want that. I wanted to be independent to a certain degree. You know, I wanted to get back to normality, and frankly, I have, you know, and I live a normal-ish life, you know, and I've got no complaints. I'm still here. I'm still here.
The remarkable story of Nathan Cumberland, talking there about his recovery and his hopes for the Invictus Games. Now, the chairman of the Invictus Games is Sir Keith Mills, and he's with Susie.
Thanks, Hugh. Yes, it's just starting to rain down here, actually. Great experience with these things. Obviously, deputy chair of the London Olympics as well. But this is a really fascinating story. Tell us how it's evolved.
Well, sadly, for the last 10 years or so, hundreds of thousands of young men and women around the world
have been injured or taken sick or been wounded as part of the conflicts, and sport has played a big part in the recuperation of these people. Last year, Prince Harry took a group of British servicemen to the US to compete in something called the Warrior Games, and off of the back of that we've created the Invictus Games, which takes place this year.
And it's getting close to September. It sounds very exciting. So how many competitors will there be? What kind of sports will they be involved in?
Over 400 competitors from 14 different countries, 9 different sports, all in the Olympic Park in East London, and we hope tens of thousands of people around the UK will come and support them. Tickets are on sale now, and it's really, really important that the country gets behind this event in the same way as they did for the Paralympic Games.
So the aim is to raise awareness, but also to inspire?
Yes, I mean, this will inspire thousands around the world, but certainly to raise awareness, and to also help these young men and women through sport get into employment and get back into society.
It's an absolutely wonderful idea, Sir Keith. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Sir Keith Mills there, the chairman of the Invictus Games, talking to Susie. Nathan Cumberland, what a remarkable man, Roland.
He was. I was with him on that tour, a very experienced young commander with a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He was being very humble there, actually, when he said that it was down to everyone else who got him out of there. Actually, the truth is, as he was lying there very badly hurt, he kept his head and was controlling his section and keeping them focused on the priorities, which was the security of the situation, and a bit about him. So absolutely embodies selfless commitment. He came to his terms with injuries very quickly, and as a consequence has been the most remarkable inspiration for the others, many of whom have found it a lot more difficult to come to terms with it. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate example of the phrase, it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it.
Despite a couple of umbrellas, it signal to you that we've got a few spots of rain, all making their way down towards the palace here for the fly past and for the appearance on the balcony. Prince Harry will be there, and Robert, it's a good moment to ask you about Harry's own involvement with Invictus.
It's been very much something of a crusade for Prince Harry ever since, as Sir Keith Mills said, he was inspired by his visit to the Warrior Games in the States last year, and he spent most of the last few months focusing absolutely on this event. 400 athletes, 9 sports, which will take place in September in the Olympic Park. That was very important to him, to bring it right to the heart of the great Olympic triumphs. And over the last few weeks, he's been making a lot of visits, I know, in private, down to meet some of the competitors. He was just visiting some Royal Marines just the other day to see how they're getting on and to encourage them. And for him, I think this is very much, he's done a lot this year. He's done some amazing things, the first member of the royal family to reach the South Pole, for example. But for him, really, this event on the eve of his 30th birthday, I think, is his main focus at the moment.
Well, over in Green Park, we've had the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery, making their very, very dramatic and colourful entry there to the park with their 41-gun salute, 21-gun salute for the official birthday of the monarch, and an additional 20-gun salute because they are, of course, in a royal park. And as the crowds flood down towards the palace, they're all waiting to see the Queen and members of the royal family on the balcony, and they're waiting to see the fly past, because each year on the birthday parade, the final salute of the day is in the skies. A roar can be heard above. Mal is crowned with streams of red, white and blue as the Royal Air Force offers Her Majesty birthday wishes. But what goes into creating this remarkable display? We spoke to the men of the 2 most iconic aerial display teams, the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight and the Red Arrows, to find out.
No matter how many times we've flown this fly past, we always need to make sure that when Her Majesty looks up, we're in exactly the right piece of sky so that we present her aeroplanes in the light they should be presented in.
On the Mall they come. It's a tremendous honour for anybody in the military to be involved in anything for the royal family, and something so iconic as a Red Arrows fly past for Her Majesty is something I'm never going to forget.
I remember watching Troop into Colour as a child, so to be part of that is just a fantastic experience, particularly being in this aircraft, the Lancaster bomber.
I think people enjoy flypasts because the noise, the vibration that comes from them engenders many feelings in a lot of different people.
I think it's the sound of the Merlins is the thing that gets the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. There's no sound like it.
The star of the show is certainly the Lancaster. I'm just the person that puts her in the right bit of sky. No one's come to see me display the aircraft, everyone's come to watch the Lancaster.
I think we're like fly past down central London because you don't usually get jets flying down central London. The Red Arrows traditionally come to Cyprus at this time of year, generally to chase the better weather, actually, because the work-up's quite intense.
Majority of the year during training, the team wears its green suit. It only gets its red suit when it's qualified to display in front of the public. 2 months of intensive training. At the end of that, we're allowed to put the red suits on, which is our ticket to go and display in front of the public. It's a very proud day for everybody. The Red Arrows fly the BAE Systems Hawk T1. It's our classic jet trainer. It's been in service since the mid-70s.
It's like a nifty little sports car. It's very simple, very basic, but it handles brilliantly and it's perfect for our needs on the team.
This particular Lancaster was built in 1945. This is a B Mark I Lancaster. She's one of only 2 remaining airworthy Lancasters in the world.
The aeroplane that I'm going to be flying is the Mark IX Spitfire. It's an aircraft that actually flew on D-Day itself. She's painted in 126 squadron colours with stripes so that they could be distinguished from enemy aircraft, so that our gunners on the ground shot at the enemy and not at friendly aircraft.
Us as aircrew are really just the final cog to get, what's essentially a group of 70-year-old aircraft flying in the air. So it's quite some achievement, really, considering how old and how fragile they are as well.
The skills that we utilise here are totally different, really, than the modern aircraft. None of the parts on these aircraft are manufactured anymore, so we rely on old stock, war stock that sometimes becomes available. Or we have to go right back to the original manufacturer's drawings and have things manufactured from scratch. So we're back to grassroots engineering.
This is heavy controls. The controls directly link to the control surfaces. So the best analogy I can give is perhaps driving a car without power steering. So she's heavy to fly, she's very noisy, she vibrates, but I wouldn't change anything for flying this.
Flying a Spitfire is every boy's dream, and it is the most fabulous aeroplane to fly. It's light throughout its speed range, whether it's going slow or fast. It's incredibly manoeuvrable. At the time, it was cutting edge. It was a thoroughbred fighter, and added to that, it's a legendary aircraft. So you're always aware that the ghosts of hundreds, if not thousands, of pilots are always watching you to make sure that you do it right.
The Hawk that we fly has been modified to carry smoke, so without a team of dedicated engineers to fill up the tanks, we wouldn't be the Red Arrows. It just wouldn't be the show that it is.
The red and blue smoke is purely a liquid dye that we mix with diesel. White smoke is just diesel on its own, and this burns in the exhaust of the engine.
Go! The smoke's controlled inside the cockpit with 3 buttons. They're actually the weapons release buttons on a normal Hawk. So the top button's the red one press for on, 1 press for off. The middle one's white, and the bottom one with the little pinky there is blue.
The smoke pod fitted underneath is actually a modified gun pod. The red and blue dye is put in using a dye rig. The guys have to sit on the ground and listen to the pod filling up, and they actually hear a chattering of the valves in the pod, and that's when it's full.
We only have 1 minute of colour each, so I'll call colour on, go. And then the right-hand side and left-hand side both put on the colours for the red, white and blue.
There's always that little niggling feeling in the back of your head that they're going to come out with purple smoke where you put the red in with the blue.
The one thing that could get in our way is the weather, and really we can't do anything about that.
The weather for the BBMF is a major limitation. They are old aircraft, so hence the rain, the weather, the cloud, the wind are major factors in any operation that we do with these aircraft.
This aircraft we only take out in almost perfect conditions. A couple of years ago, unfortunately, I had to cancel being as part of the Queen's birthday fly past for that very reason. The weather just wasn't suitable. and we really must look after her. She's a 70-year-old aeroplane.
Timing's absolutely crucial, certainly for a long train of aircraft like in the Queen's Birthday flypast.
Because we have very limited speed range of the aircraft we fly, we have to take into account the winds to modify our timings to make sure that we're over Buckingham Palace at the right time. You have helicopters at the front flying 90 knots, the Dakota flying 120 knots, the Lancaster 150, and then the Fast Air flying 270 and 300 knots. You can see that the formation is going to close up due to the different speeds of those aircraft. So once we're over Buckingham Palace, they are all 30 seconds apart. However, the routing then has to be done to allow the faster aircraft to pass the slower aircraft. And this is all done in the planning stages, so on the day what you see is transparent.
The way that we navigate through London, it's all really down to the boss.
Flying out the front of the Red Arrows formation is probably the easiest job in terms of formation, but that comes with its own responsibilities. I've got to make sure that we are on time and in the right position, and if I mess that up, I'm in trouble.
It's really down to him.
From about 40 miles away, you can start to see central London coming into your view, and there's a lot of features that we use to get ourselves lined up.
The first is the velodrome from the Olympic Park. Then as you keep going down, you can see the Barbican, and I can start to think I'm in the right place.
And at the final stages, of course, you've got the Mall. Although it's moving, there's so many people there, it's not stationary. And that is quite an odd sensation.
10 seconds.
I actually had the opportunity to be in the Lancaster as you fly down the Mall and over the top of Buckingham Palace. Something that will stay with you for life.
Stop the Victoria Memorial now.
Unfortunately, we get very few seconds to actually appreciate what we're doing at the time. We're all working so hard to make sure that the aircraft is in the right place at the right time that it's not really until afterwards we really recollect what we've just been doing. Buckingham Palace last year, I think I saw it for about 3 or 4 seconds.
Confirm we clear the Palace and come right.
The only bit that I'm ever a little bit concerned about now that I'm the captain is the landing right at the end. The last 2 feet is probably the hardest bit, and you're certainly going to get a bit of ribbing from the rest of the crew if you bounce it. It's not until I hand the aircraft safely back over to the engineers do I actually finally relax.
The Queen's Birthday flypast for us is the commemorative highlight of the year. So to be flying along in a Spitfire next to a Lancaster over the Palace and over the Queen is incredibly special, and we're very proud of being able to do that.
I think any flight past people like to see, but the Red Arrows are very special. When the red, white and blue comes on, the cheers come on, I can even hear it on the radio. It really gets the British public, I think, feeling quite patriotic. It's an amazing feeling, lovely to be part of.
Just a taste of what's to come in a few minutes' time, and there you have the gun salute, which is taking place in Green Park right now. King's Troop are there, their 41 gun salute to mark the Queen's official birthday. Salutes fired in Hyde Park and the Tower of London. So all of that happening in Green Park, and very close nearby we have the crowds who are congregating around the Queen Victoria Memorial, and at the gates of Buckingham Palace itself, the Royal Standard, huge Royal Standard, fluttering in the breeze, signalling to the world that the Queen is in residence. Indeed, today the Queen and all members of the royal family, they're preparing to make that appearance on the balcony, and there's the scene for you along the Mall. Many thousands of people who've come to enjoy the spectacle today, and thankfully we've had a few spots of rain, but thankfully nothing really serious. So within a few minutes' time that fly past will happen. We're expecting 28 aircraft, 13 different types, from the famous Spitfire in Lancaster to modern fighter jets and the Red Arrows team. So they'll be flying right over here, right over Buckingham Palace in a few minutes' time. Robert, one of the key questions now, I suppose, now that we're getting ready to see the royal family, will we see Prince George, do you think?
Well, I know many people out there would love to see Prince George. I think the view has been taken that he's 1 month short of his first birthday. It's probably a little bit too soon to bring him on parade. We'll wait and see. He might be in there. They're all in there inside the centre room at Buckingham Palace at the moment, having a quick sandwich and and a cup of tea before they come out, so he might be in there, but I think every indication is he won't be. Let's not forget the Queen actually has 4 grandchildren, great-grandchildren now, because obviously earlier this year Zara Tyndall had little Mia. So there are many small members of the family we'd all love to see, but I think we'll certainly see 3 generations. These events this event traditionally is the one moment of the year when you do see the whole royal family on parade, but actually this year in particular there are a lot of team events still to come. Let's not forget we've got the Commonwealth Games next month in Glasgow, where all the members of the family will be there to see many of the events there, and the Queen herself will be opening that. So there's a lot on the royal schedule to come.
Mentioned team events, let's take it literally, because we have the World Cup going on at the moment. Of course, Prince William has a vested interest as president of the FA, but Harry too seems to be taking his part in it.
There's a bit of sibling rivalry there, because, as you say, Prince William, president of the FA, but it's actually going to be Prince Harry who gets to see the first game, because he's off on a visit to Brazil and to Chile. Not a trip. He's been organised by the government, and here comes the moment the crowds have been waiting for. They're all going to come out now for this fly past, whether it's raining or not, on the side of any umbrellas, and led by the Queen.
Smiles from the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, and some waves to the vast crowd below, and they're joined now by other members of the royal family. Duke of Cambridge, Prince Harry there, Duchess of Cambridge too. And the crowd on the Mall realising that it's about to happen, because the flypast is about to take place. Some 6 elements. The first element already in sight, the support helicopter force, a Merlin, 2 Pumas and a Chinook. Squadron leader Kevin Harris in the Merlin, Flight Lieutenant Paul Spears, Flying Officer Charlie Emerson in the Pumas, and Flight Lieutenant Matthew Smythe in the Chinook. Here they come. The RAF's helicopters, of course, providing essential transport for troops and equipment and vital medical emergency aid to NATO forces, including in Afghanistan.
There we see the Duchess of Cornwall, Prince of Wales, and Princess Eugenie there as well, who was earlier this week helping the Queen at her garden party. A very full royal turnout today.
So the Merlin and the Pumas seen service in Iraq as well as Afghanistan. Pumas, the Puma 2s taking part in the flypast for the first time, having been upgraded last year. And the Chinook RAF Odiham in Hampshire, often carrying medical emergency response teams that give life-saving aid to injured troops and civilians. They've been in use for over 30 years. Great sight of the Dakota from the RAF Memorial Flight, based at RAF Coningsby, Lincolnshire. Dakota, tactical transport aircraft used during World War II, and on D-Day to carry troops and freight, and we saw it in Normandy last week. Great sight in the blue skies above Arromanches. And what a lovely sight today, the Lancaster, which suffered some problems while in France after D-Day, but the engineers led by Flight Sergeant Dean McAllister working tirelessly around the clock this week, and that's the result. This great aircraft flying at the Queen's birthday parade with 2 Spitfires. We have Flight Lieutenant Tim Dunlop, Squadron Leader Duncan Mason, and Flight Lieutenant Anthony Parkinson responsible for the RAF Memorial Flight. Plenty of wonderful things to take photos of, as the I-Star transport, the Sentry E3D, the eyes and ears of the RAF, flown by 8 Squadron out of RAF Waddington. Flanking it are 2 HS-125s from RAF Northolt. the great bulky figure of the C-17 from RAF Bryce Norton, which can carry over 45 metric tons of freight, troops, other transport. And then the vast Voyager, also from Bryce Norton, specially adapted for a military role, troop transport really from Afghanistan and elsewhere. And then we have 3 Typhoons and 3 Tornado GR4s. And stand by for the Red Arrows. One of the world's premier aerobatic display teams, and that's the reason why. A stream of red, white and blue in the skies above central London and Buckingham Palace, to the Queen's obvious delight. '14 is the 50th display season for the Red Arrows. It's great to see them. Queen enthusiastically thanking the crowd. Duke of Edinburgh having a chat and sharing a joke with Prince Harry. So the Queen and 3 generations of the royal family making their way back into the palace. And the birthday parade of 2014, the 62nd of the Queen's reign, is at an end. Another superb display by everyone on Horse Guards, led by the Grenadier Guards, and an equally impressive performance by the Royal Air Force to round off the day's events. Don't forget, you can enjoy it all again. Our highlights programme is on BBC 2 this evening at 6:30. But for now, from Susie Perry, my special guests, Brigadier Roland Walker and Robert Hardman, and all of the BBC team, goodbye.
It's a story of